Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle. I am Lori Anne Casdia, and our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. So I hope you are having a great day and you are ready for the show today because we have some interesting conversation with our good friend, Courtney Boom Boom Crockett, our personal traveling cocktailian. Courtney, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I am very well, Lori Anne. Thank you so much for having me. It's good to hear your voice.
It's great to hear you too. It's been a little bit. It's longer than usual, and people were asking, okay, where is she? We need some more drinking information because that's what we do. So you found some interesting products to share with us today. So take it away. What are we talking about?
I did. I've been the minimum amount that we're getting out and about. I've noticed something that I'm just really excited to share with everybody, and I think hopefully it doesn't come as too big of a shock. But what I've been noticing on the shelves and making their kind of like basically rooting themselves into our cocktail called...
Oh, you're killing me. What?
Canned cocktail, Lori. Canned cocktail.
Stop it. What is that?
So I'm sure they've seen canned wines coming out.
Yeah.
Sure. From what I've seen, like Avon Grace have really good ones. Cupcake, I think, were one of the first ones to hit.
Sure, yeah.
Dark Horse is out there with a beautiful rosé. But I mean, what I started seeing is, and then we kind of saw the spritzers hitting, right? Like the Trulies and all that stuff. And everyone's like, oh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
Now we have what I have seen, and I've gone to like 3 different places just around my home, is an amazing selection of canned craft cocktails, ranging anywhere from mojitos and amaretto sours to flavored margaritas to palomas. Like, it's all over the board. And I was just like, this is so fantastic. This is so amazing.
Wow.
Especially right now, still, while some of us are still, practicing our social distancing and maybe not going out to some of our favorite places still as much as we would like. And opting for maybe more intimate gatherings of people that we've been quarantining around or with, so that we can still maintain some semblance of normalcy. I just think these are so great. These are fantastic ways. It's an easy way to still get the drinks. And to be fair, that level of spirit, presence that you're used to in a regular, in a cocktail from a bar, but in such an easy, convenient way, you pick up a...
Oh my gosh, this is...
Take it to your house.
Yeah, it sounds it sounds great because I'm not a beer drinker. So that was always disturbing. They, a lot of times they wouldn't be able to do mixed drinks and stuff like that. So, so these canned cocktails sound like that's totally amazing. But why canned cocktails? Is it for portability? Where did this come from? I mean, I just started the wines coming out. Did it just follow suit? Is that just historic?
I think it is. I think they've seen a trend. A trend has began, and anytime trends begin, you kind of open up your idea to like, well, how far can we take this? Really, what can we do with this? And I think a lot of it has to do with with us being in a very different time now than we were, say, last year at this time.
So, is there a variety of canned cocktails out there, or what are we talking about here? Because
all over the board, like all over the board.
Can I get my favorite Sazerac?
Yeah. Sazerac, maybe not so much, but you could definitely do a really good old fashioned.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, they're close.
Yeah, not too far off, but I've seen from some brands that you would recognize immediately, like Bacardi and Knob Creek does a really good old fashioned. Absolute. Let's see, your tequila. You've got some obviously your Jose Cuervo has done some stuff and we've seen the mixers before in the past, right?
Right.
Where you like go into the liquor store and you're like, oh, Jose Cuervo has a margarita mixer and all I got to do is add, margarita, or all I have to do is add tequila. And you're like, oh, that's fantastic. These are legitimately all-encompassing cocktail.
No, really, seriously, hold on. How do they compare with the real thing? Because you are an unbelievable bartender. So how does it compare to yours?
Well,
I mean, I've heard, not that I know.
right. Yeah, not I could ever say, but
that's not true. I experienced it out in Kansas City this past January, and outstanding. That's actually where we met, out in Kansas City.
Yeah, that was a fun weekend. I really liked that.
Oh my God, it was so much fun.
I would say that
it was the sing along that got me.
Purposes. Yeah, I know you have. I don't trust people who don't sing behind the bar, Lori. I don't trust them.
I know
my bartender cannot pull out a fantastic version of just random bartending karaoke. I mean, we have you have Uber karaoke and carpool karaoke, but if you can't pull out some bartending karaoke, then I don't know.
Yeah, and man, you just belted out, and it was just like entertaining. So we got a floor show and a really, really good drink. But again, back to my question is, how do they compare with the real thing? I mean, because you're, like I said, my son is a sommelier. He does bartending.
Right.
You, both of you, are like right up there with the finest bartenders I've ever experienced. And so let's put it to the test. What's the real truth? Give us the skinny.
So I do think there are some varying, levels of skill set that go into this. I mean, obviously some of your larger brands are going to put a lot of money behind the research in putting out this product because they have a brand to stand behind, correct?
Yes.
You're going to run into some other ones that might not be as well known. Like there's this one brand that I found called Buzz Talk.
Buzz Talk, Buzz Talk?
The Talls, Tallz, Buzz Talls. And they had just this random selection of here's a margarita and they have one called a chocolate tease, which I have to admit I did not try because I was a little trepidatious, but it kind of, I think it might be more like a mud slide, the old school mud slides that we used to do.
Sure.
That's kind of what was reading the description. And then there's another brand that I found was called On the Rocks Premium Cocktails, and those were fantastic. They had the right color, they had the right flavor profiles. Now, I will say this, anytime you're having something that's out of the can or that is built for shelf stability, you're going to be running into some differences. It's going to be way different than getting in, sitting at the bar and having someone make you a cosmopolitan with fresh lime juice and, this premium cranberry, whatever. But all intents and purposes, if you're the person who likes the Cosmo, the On the Rocks brand, amazing Cosmo.
Do you know what I found?
They have an aviation. What?
You just reminded me. A friend of ours, we were rafting recently, and a friend of ours brings out. Remember those ices that you used to have as a kid? They're long rectangular things, and you eat the ice, the colored ice, the flavored fruit ice out of it. They actually have them in drinks. They're frozen cocktails, just like that.
Yeah. One of my very first Negroni weeks, which usually takes place in the first week in June, put on by Campari. I was working at this awesome little restaurant in Kansas City, and I happened to just be working days. And I was like, how am I going to convince people coming in for lunch to support this amazing cause that Campari puts on every single year and drink a Negroni in the middle of the afternoon? Because anyone who's familiar with Negronis understands that those are pretty heady cocktails, not necessarily something that you would drink and then go back to work, right? So
yeah.
I came up with, I did some little research, and I came up with a frozen Negroni that I actually found those little, I call them push-up pops.
Yeah.
Those push-up pop molds, and I made my first frozen cocktail ever, and it was a frozen Negroni that I named a Zamboni. And it was so good and so yummy and exactly what would be perfect after a lunch. Not a whole lot of alcohol, but you still got all the flavors of the Negroni that you were wanting. And they got to be so popular that I actually would make them for people as little private, as side jobs, because they were like, I want some more of those frozen popsicles.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Cause I
just noticed it was so fun though to play with that. And then to see not long after that, this trend come along of frozen rosés and frozen craft cocktails.
Oh, I was going to tell you. Yeah, I have we call them slushies here. We have wine slushies out on the East End, and oh my God, they're so amazing, and it's fun and it's cooling, and especially in the hot weather, those are great. Frozen drinks are great, and it sounds.
And I was just going to say, and it's one of those things that, historically, going back, we think about frozen drinks, we think of like the movie Cocktail or being down in the Caribbean somewhere or whatever. But, really, frozen drinks are fantastic. I don't drink them as much as I would like to because I tend to drink them too fast and I get brain freeze.
Right, I don't.
But being able to utilize this technique and create something that is beloved by so many people and actually bring about a higher standard rather than just using, these premixes or whatever, actually putting in your fresh juice, doing all of those things that you would do normally in your bar, but then bringing, right, here's a Mai Tai, which typically are not frozen, but could be.
Could be, yeah.
Like, I've never had one of these before. We talked about Mai Tais on this show.
Yeah, we did.
And how many people had probably never really had a traditional Mai Tai until they might have heard this show, and being able to educate your guests in that way is so phenomenal for those of us that really enjoy what we do as a living. That's one of our perks is getting to tell people about things that they might not have had the chance to really learn about before.
And that's a lot of fun.
And especially something as simple as cocktails.
Yeah. There's nothing really simple about it because there's so many of them that you're dealing with. So here's the question about the canned cocktails, though, just to jump back to there for a second. So you said, it's not, are there preservatives added and stuff like that? Because we are talking about many drinks have the fresh lime, the fresh lemon, the juices and things like that. That doesn't stay forever. So are there preservatives? I mean, obviously... For me, and I'll let you answer in a second, for me, the live experience of having a bartender singing at the top of her lungs, hint, hint, and mixing you a drink and being around with your friends and stuff like that is a lot of fun. Now, you can still recreate that by having music and your friends around, but is the quality different? And are there preservatives?
There are. Think of them in a way, so like what you'll find typically as far as the preservative goes is instead of having fresh squeezed lime juice, it might be pasteurized. Okay, so that's going to give it a little bit more of a stability. You're going to see a lot of the canned cocktails, instead of them just being like say the Cosmopolitan, for instance, it might be, if you get it in a can, it might be one of those things where it's a bubbly Cosmopolitan. So they're adding that soda, like that the soda water or the bubbling water or whatever it is, and that's going to be more of a shelf stabilizer.
Yeah, got it. I like how you say that instead of preservatives, a shelf stabilizer.
Yeah, because ultimately, none of these things are going to last forever. It's not like getting a can of green beans or something. It's going to. They will have a, they will have a shelf life, but you want to try to make sure that it's going to be as shelf stable as possible.
Yeah.
And so, you'll see instead of it just being a margarita, it'll be like a bubbly margarita. So you'll have that CO2 that you get with your standard soda water or whatever added to the cocktail as a stabilizer. You'll see instead of fresh lime juice, they're going to use something that's pasteurized or concentrated instead. You're going to see something like there might be a little bit more sugar in your Cosmopolitan than you're used to, but again, it's not going to be something so off the wall that it's not going to taste like what you're hoping it's going to taste like. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. Makes sense. Again, doing it live, doing it at your home, adding all the fresh ingredients is no different than, the difference between getting a frozen dinner and making the dinner yourself fresh. So I think there's a lot of similarities there. But what a great idea for portability when you're going boating or camping, or you're going, you're not at home or you're not in a restaurant with your favorite bartender. So let's talk about your singing. Let's talk about why you're not doing it right now, because this is you just blew me away. We had so much fun. You had the entire bar on fire. We were laughing. Your interaction with everybody was just genuine and fun, and you really love what you do, don't you?
I most certainly do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, I would say that this this time for a lot of us who kind of pride ourselves in hospitality and that being our passion, it's been really hard. Still here in Kansas City, still, we're still playing things very safe, very close to the cuff. We don't have full capacity back up and running yet, but we're working on it.
Sure.
We're just we're trying to keep everybody safe and healthy, and it's been very difficult. So we've had to find other outlets, to occupy our time. Luckily, big groups of us on the social medias and the Zooms that we can get together and we can do our cocktail karaoke and stuff. But not at the moment. I'm not currently singing or making drinks anywhere in Kansas City. Understood.
But you know what? It's coming back and it's allowing you to get your creative on, right? So you can be experimenting and you're finding these things like the canned cocktail, which I just think is, off the hook that we have that available, and that you're finding these things and the quality. You're talking quality. Producers like Knob Creek, those are really quality companies, and
right.
It's quality
so your Bacardi, your Absolute, your Kettle Ones, your these long-standing companies who pride themselves on producing an amazing quality product. They're
right.
not going to put their name on something that they can't stand behind. And one of the greatest things too, I think about this right now, is so. You have some people coming over. This has been my favorite part about it. So, by the way, happy fall, everybody. We are officially in fall
yes,
now,
we are.
Which with that comes one of our favorite things, which is
pumpkins.
Football season.
Oh, football season. Yeah.
So, for those of you guys who are still, social distancing and doing all your stuff, this is also really cool too, because if you have like a small group of people that you've been around during this time, instead of going out and spending, which granted can be very expensive when it comes to creating these cocktails in your home. All of the ingredients that go into making one cocktail, and if you want to try to, put 2 or 3 on the table, can get really pricey.
Yeah.
This is where these really come into play. It's like you can go out, you can buy a box of these crafted canned cocktails for, I want to say the ones I saw, they ranged anywhere from like $11.99 to $15.99.
Like a box of 12 or?
Well, like a box of, some of them were like a box of 8. Some of them were a box of 12.
Okay.
I know the seltzers tend to be a little bit, they usually have a lot more in them. The crafted cocktails may not be as much, but also keep in mind too, with a cocktail, you are getting more alcohol than just mixer. So there might be restrictions on how much you can sell, per box.
But how great that you can bring in a bunch of different drinks so you can satisfy your guests or your family members or yourself for that matter, and with the different drinks that you can bring in, and you could try different ones. And find what you like. So when you go back to the bars and you meet people like Courtney behind the bar, you can say, by the way, I'd like that Sazerac, please. Because now you know what that is.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh my gosh, I was at this, I tried a bottle of this stuff called, an aviation made with gin. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's absolutely one of my favorite cocktails to make. Let me make you a fresh one. And then as a guest, you can see how it compares. And, but ultimately, I think what it comes down to is having that convenience and having something that's very well made, that is accessible, that isn't going to break the bank. It gives everyone an opportunity to really kind of, again, one of the things we talk about at length here and that we really, work towards behind the bar is allowing you the permission to step out of your comfort zone, try something you wouldn't maybe regularly try because you're not investing a lot in it. A $10 thing of, aviation mix that gives you the breakdown on the back. This is how you do it. You pour it, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, that was so good. Rather than going to, say, a craft bar that you've never been to before and spending $10, or $12 or $15 upwards of whatever, just on a drink that you've never had before.
Right, exactly.
to explore. It gives you the chance to really play with your flavors, with your profiles, with your palate, to see what you like, to see what you don't like. And again, nothing's really breaking the bank. And the easiest part about it is, if you don't like what you're drinking, I guarantee you will find somebody that will like what you're drinking. They have that shelf stability. And, you can always wait till the next time someone comes over and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to turn me one into one of the best things I found. And there's your way to get rid of
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I do. You are listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lori Anne, and we will be right back. Well, welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Lori Anne. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas you'd like to hear more about, please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com and follow us on social media. You can follow us right now. We are live. And you can find us on social media at Healthy Lifestyle with LA. So we love it. We love it. We love it. So we are talking to the great, the fabulous, my friend, Courtney Boom Boom Crockett. We met back in January when I was out in Kansas City, and she was a superstar, still is, behind the bar, singing and delivering these beautifully crafted cocktails. Now, Courtney, we talk about this a lot. Again, you, myself, my son, we talk about this because this is what you do, but it really is a craft. This is not, it is scientific. So what made you get into this? Well, tell us a little backstory about the Courtney.
Well, I've always kind of had a propensity for what we love to refer to as the industry. I think most of us kind of do our due diligence there while we're in college or high school or whatever the time frame. But
for this show, we'll say college.
Yeah, for sure. I was a paralegal for 13 years, and I really enjoyed working I loved working in the legal profession. I just happened to get in touch with the people in Kansas City and the industry here, the bartenders, the chefs, everyone who makes the wheels go round. And I just fell in love with this community and was immediately, after showing any kind of interest, immediately embraced by this community. Yeah. It was really then that helped to open up that avenue and that possibility for me to go back to doing something I really loved doing, not just something I could do, but something I really loved doing. Yeah. And through that support and through that encouragement, not only did I realize I loved doing it, but that I was at it. And especially with the resurgence of these cocktails and the cocktail movement and becoming very ingrained in what that meant and kind of looking at the historical aspect of what cocktails were and how they were so relevant in what we were doing and who we were as a people and as a country and as a culture. I just kind of dorked out on it and really kind of threw myself wholeheartely into it. I remember my family asking me after I was let go from my paralegal job. They were downsizing, and of course, being the senior paralegal, I was the first to get the axe, and it was right before the holidays. I didn't get offered any severance or anything like that. And the guy I was working with, the chef of the restaurant that I happened to be a part of, came in one day and he had seen my post on Facebook, and he was just like, you know what, Boom, whatever you need, we're here for you. If they don't have enough shifts for you downstairs, you come see me, but we take care of our people. And wow. That was just something that, I had really kind of gravitated towards. That was who I was. I was like always the kind of person who was willing to give your last dollar to someone who might need it. Yeah,
but that's what people in hospitality do. That's what I have found.
Yeah, and so being around the people that had a very similar mindset as my own when it comes to, what this life is about, what it could be if we would just allow people to be who they are. Yeah. Instead of trying to force everyone into their little holes, Yeah. That was something that was really important. And so I took that encouragement and that opportunity, and I tried to, grow it the best I could and the first thing within it. And I've been very fortunate to find myself surrounded by just some of the most magnificent people on the planet as a result.
Yeah. That's why you're speaking to the choir here, because that's why I became a mentor. And that's why I help people find their purpose, find what it is their passion, and then help them go after it and give them the support that they need. And that's all anybody needs. If everybody would just do that and allow people to be who they are, we're all individual and we're all so very different. And that's the magnificence of it, is that we will never find another Boom Boom. She is the only one, will only ever be the only one in history. And we need to really maximize our exposure to people like yourself who are just outstanding. I mean, you're in a profession that is really labeled hospitality. That is what you do. You are very hospitable. Mm-hmm. You know your craft. I love the history. Every time you come on, you give us a little bit more history. I love the history of the molasses up in Boston and how that affected our drinks. And I never realized that our history and what's happening day to day really does impact these changes, like bringing in canned cocktails. Now, who knows if that would have happened had we been going status quo prior to, what's been going on in 2020. And now here we are with these canned cocktails. We get exposure to a lot more. It's like bringing your kids to like museums. You can find a whole lot about it. Is there a place, by the way, where you can see the history or learn about the history of cocktails?
Well, one of the things I always recommend, I mean, there's so much stuff on YouTube. You can't really, you have to be careful not to go down the YouTube hole, but other than that, I mean, you can find a lot of really great information. I would say if you want to know the historical aspects of cocktails and spirits, read anything that you can find by Dave Wondrich. He was actually a professor of history and I believe literature at the University of New York for a long time. And then his passion was like the history of cocktails. He's written a book called Imbibe, which I think is on a second or third edition now. Who kind of goes through all of the history of what that is to our culture and where it kind of derived from.
What's it called? Imbibe?
Imbibe.
Oh, imbibe.
Like you're imbibing a drink.
Got it.
Another book you wrote was called Punch, which talks all about punches and what the history of those are. And it's so fascinating. It's legitimately one of my favorite books I've ever read. I have it highlighted like all through there.
You drink dork. I love that.
That's a dork.
And I say this with the utmost of love. It's not disrespectful or rude. I say it with love because you so embrace it. And I love that you're like that. I mean, because this is so intriguing to me.
It is. And I think just for, like I said, when you start looking at what this means, I think, especially right now, like during this past year, people didn't realize what this actually meant for people who work in this industry. You have to think of what we've come across recently is 85 million people in the United States alone work to make the hospitality industry run. And that's just not... That's
85 million people?
85 million people.
Wow.
85 million of us in this country work in some facet involved with hospitality. Wow. That means waiting tables. That means the people who make straws. The people. I mean, it goes so far down that you don't realize how much of an impact this year has had on this industry. And anyone, please, if you get any opportunity, go out and find an organization to donate to, because so many people are still in need right now within this industry. And it's just, we're, like I said, we're slowly starting to come back, which is fantastic, but there's still so many of us that have been really affected by what's happened this year. And
by no cause of their own. It's just what's happened in circumstance.
We were literally working one day, and then the next day we got closed down.
Yeah.
And with no idea of when we would reopen.
Well, I want to personally thank all 85 million of you, because I truly appreciate this industry. And it's, it's a great source of entertainment and relaxation. And again, meeting wonderful people like yourself. It's just amazing. And I get exposed to a lot of people in hospitality because my son is in the industry, and one person after the next, David Allen Thornton is one of my favorite, he's He's a friend of my son Nicholas's, and he's just outstanding. And, just one person after the next, after the next, after the next, just being those good humans who all they want to do is go out there and make somebody else's day even better. And you do that every single day. Even during this pandemic, you have been going out there and making sure you're supporting the hospitality industry, and you're also supporting us, your past clients, if you will, patrons.
My guests.
Yeah, your guests. That's right. That's what you all call it, guests. I love it. I love it. I love what you do.
I love it too. And I am so thankful for, like I said, for giving me this outlet to talk about these things. I think if it hadn't been for you, I might have gone crazy and not had anybody to talk about cocktails. What's happening right now?
Well, you can come on every time, and I want you to come back on, especially for the holidays. The holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving, Christmas. I want you to prep us with a lot of good drink recipes. You're going to come back before Thanksgiving so that you can give us some.
I want to do a punch episode because we're getting into the time.
Done.
Where punches are really the way to go when you're entertaining.
And I don't mean during watching sports. It's just entertainment.
Yeah. I mean, even if you're just entertaining you and your husband, punches are great things.
Yeah. There you go. There you go.
It's so fun. Yeah.
It really is. I remember growing up, my mom used to make this punch, and it was just like she'd get out the big bowl and she'd put all this stuff in this bowl, and it was like a bottle of vodka went in it, and I was just like, ooh, love this. And it was, let's see, pineapple juice, and there was another juice, I don't remember what it was, and oh my gosh, and then she would top it off with like a dollop of Cool Whip, and I was just like, really? Cool Whip? But it was so yummy.
Wild that went in it, and 7-Up. Oh yeah, no.
7-Up, yes, that was the other thing.
I was going to say that I think for the longest time, that particular punch that you're talking about is like pineapple juice, sherbet, 7-Up, vodka or rum. And that was the staple of every baby shower and or engagement party.
Yeah, and that's exactly the recipe. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I was standing there with the big can of pineapple juice, pouring it into my mom's punch bowl, and everybody was just loving it.
It's hard to beat. It's a good one. I mean, that's the thing and another thing too that I love about those, and we'll talk about when we do our episode, is it really brings everybody together. Like that's the whole idea behind a punch, right? Is to bring everybody to the bowl. Before, I know you were probably getting ready to wrap up, but I did want to mention just a couple of brands. These are not brands that I have really had a chance to. I don't know anything about these people specifically. All I've seen is their products and their marketing and their ingredient list, and I was really impressed with what they were doing.
Okay.
And I wanted to mention them to anyone who might get a chance to try these canned cocktails or are interested in trying these canned cocktails.
Go for it, because you can find it. You'll find it on the underneath the episode. So in case you miss it, don't worry, you can get it there. But go ahead, you shoot.
So one of them is called Cutwater. The other one that I found was called Sling. One is called Joia, which is Joia out of Minnesota. There's a 88 East Bevco, and then an Austin Cocktail. Those are the ones that I saw that really just kind of stood out to me.
Why?
And I mean, because they were not a big brand, but I felt like they deserved to be in amongst the big brands.
Yeah, they have all the right ingredients.
Their branding, yes, the ingredients, everything about them just really kind of seemed to stand apart from some of the others. You could tell that they put a lot of time and a lot of thought into what it was they wanted to bring to the market.
Right.
And they wanted to make it the best that they could make it. And I feel like they did a really good job. Yeah, absolutely. I will, in fact, after this is done, I'll send you a list along with some pictures that I took.
Oh, lovely.
So if you want to see what the marketing, what the branding, what the boxes look like.
Yeah, we'll put it up on the site.
Cool.
You can see it with this episode, because we always do. We always put your recipes up, and love that about you. You're very interactive and hospitable. Isn't that interesting? So in our last few minutes, if you have any message to send out, I do this all the time. We understand your why, love your passion, just think you're just a good human overall. But what do you want to share with our listeners? You can say anything you want as long as it, gets by the FCC.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I would like to make a point of telling everyone, regardless of what you think, it is important, and you're right as a citizen. Make sure we get out and vote this November. That's super, super important. Secondly, I would suggest if you have something in place or there's something around you where you have a favorite restaurant that maybe isn't quite open yet, but is still doing curbside or to-go cocktails, please continue to support those establishments.
Yes.
You're the reason that they're still viable, that they're still running, that they're still open. We've lost way, way, way too many amazing independently owned businesses during this pandemic.
Yeah, couldn't withstand it.
All across the country, so those that we can remain, that we can keep supporting to keep open, let's do the best we can. And I just want to thank everyone for being resilient and standing in there. And hopefully, by the time we talk again, we are working in our chosen professions and hopefully moving towards a better tomorrow. That's all I can say about that.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's a really good message. Definitely support your local businesses always, but also support those restaurants and places where there are hospitality, because they are out there suffering, and they just want to get back to work. That's a group of people who just want to get back to work. They don't like not working. That's their area of expertise. That's where their passion lies, and that's their purpose. And I know this is your purpose and passion. And I love that you travel around and you educate, and you were doing that, and you'll get back to doing that, I'm sure. And
we will.
We have a project that you and I are going to work on coming next year that's going to allow us to really share this kind of information more and more. So as always, we so appreciate having you on the show. Healthy Lifestyle is really grateful for you coming on month after month to share this stuff with us and light us up on fire and make us smile, because you always make us smile and you give us great information. What's your favorite drink?
My favorite drink right now?
Yeah.
I've been drinking a lot of whiskey. It's kind of getting...
Me too. It's getting cold.
Yeah. So I will tell you, my favorite whiskey of all time. I mean, I love whiskey across the board. It doesn't matter if it's got an EY or a Y on it. We'll talk about that on an episode as well.
Okay.
I think for my money, Wild Turkey 101 is my favorite bourbon. It just is one of the most perfectly blended, balanced bourbons I've had. It works in cocktails. It works by itself. My husband doesn't even like whiskey, and every time I get a bottle of it, I'll come to the kitchen. I'll see him stand. What are you doing? You don't even drink whiskey. Why are you? He's like, I know, but I like this one.
That's adorable.
That's kind of what I've been gravitating more towards that. Like you said, your Sazeracs, your old fashions. I've been more of like.
I love the Sazeracs
cocktails. Also, right now too, it's red wine season.
Yes,
there. Nice fire in the backyard. A beautiful Zinfandel. I'm a Malbec girl, so it's like...
I'm a Sangiovese girl.
Oh, Sangiovese, don't even get me started. Oh, we're going to have a whole wine class.
Yes, please.
Maybe your son can join us on that one.
I love it. We'll do a wine episode, and we can talk about Sangioveses and a whole bunch of different wine. And oh my God, the two of you! I won't get a word in edgewise. I can tell.
Well, it'll be a series that we do for a month, obviously, because there's no way we can talk about
seriously, yeah, it's a 4-parter on this one. So no, I love that. That's a great idea. So you guys all have to stay tuned. Come on back and listen to these various things. It is part of Healthy Lifestyle to keep your joy up. I talk about being joyful, finding the joy, and sometimes having a drink once in a while isn't a bad thing. So I really do appreciate that. I appreciate you so much, Courtney, and thank you so much for coming on and lighting up our day today.
It was my absolute pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's always my pleasure to be able to live with you. Thank you.
You're a doll. Thank you so much for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lori Anne. My heart is truly lifted. I know you hear me say it every week, but it's so true. It's lifted by sharing this time with you. I love sharing what I learn and meeting these people like Courtney Boom Boom Crockett, who is just outstanding. She is just really everything that you hear. She is really the true thing. She's genuine. Of course, I want to thank our producer, Michael. I always thank him, and he came in and did a little FaceTime on our show on Facebook. And again, I remind you, we are all here to serve one another, so please take a moment, step out of your day, and do a little something for someone else. In the meantime, I'll remind you this too. It takes 21 days to build a habit, 90 days to build a lifestyle. So start with a habit today and see how great your life goes by doing so. Thank you again for joining us on Healthy Lifestyle. I am Lori Anne Casdia. Until next time, play a higher role, serve a higher purpose, show up for you, and show up big.